There's no one-size-fits-all approach to creating a successful fundraising strategy and plan.
People are nervous, right? It's a big deal. We're raising $10 million, even if we're raising $1 or $3 million, depending on the size of the org.
Major gift fundraising is not deadline driven. It really is probably the only type of fundraising, along with planned giving, that is not deadline driven.
AI comes on the scene that's affordable, accessible, that can provide insights and personalization at scale.
That's the first core element of this fundraising engine or funnel, is making sure that the top of your funnel, the beginning of your fundraising process, you are in front of the right people.
What do the people we serve need? And how do we open the door to help them get there?
What happens a lot of times is we get this discomfort or this fear, and our brain tells our body to stop.
We can acquire donors and we can automate everything. And that's where I worry, at least personally, around the perils of AI, that it would remove humans from the interaction.
This is the Intentional Fundraiser podcast.
I was working with one of my clients, Renee, who is a major gift officer, to help her spend more time with her donors. This is how she started a typical day. Her alarm goes off at 6:30. By 7:15, she's at her desk, and the first 90 minutes of her day are gone before she's spoken to a single donor. She's updating contact reports from yesterday's visits, scheduling and rescheduling 3 meetings because of calendar conflicts, and answering an internal email chain about a stewardship event that has nothing to do with her portfolio. By the time she gets to her first donor call at 10 a.m., she's already tired and she hasn't done the part of her job that moves the mission forward. Fast forward 6 months. Same portfolio, same goals, same donors. Her morning still starts at 6:30, but by 7:45, her calendar for the week is already organized because a simple automation handled the back and forth. Her contact report from yesterday's visit is drafted and waiting for her to review because she dictated a 2-minute voice note on her drive back to the office and let a tool turn it into a first draft. By 10 a.m., she's not exhausted. She's ready because the hour before that call went toward preparing for the donor instead of fighting her own task list. Welcome to the Intentional Fundraiser podcast. I'm Tammy Zonker, and today we're talking about something practical and a little overdue: how major gift officers can use artificial intelligence and automation to protect the time and energy that belongs to donors. I want to be clear about what this episode is and isn't. This isn't a pitch for replacing your judgment with a tool, and it isn't a tour of every shiny app on the market. It's a conversation about where your hours are really going right now, which categories of work are safe to hand off, what a couple of those workflows look like in practice, and how to make sure none of it ever makes a donor feel like they're talking to a machine instead of you. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clearer picture of what's really consuming your week, 3 categories of tasks worth delegating to tools, a walkthrough of 2 workflows you can set up without a technical background, and a simple guardrail system so automation never crosses the line into impersonal. Let's start where Renee started, with an honest look at the week. I ask every major gift officer I coach to do one exercise before we talk about tools. Track your hours for 5 working days, not your to-do list, your actual hours. Most people are stunned by the gap between how they think they spend their time and how they really spend it. Here's a pattern I see constantly. A major gift officer believes she spends about half her week on donor-facing work. When she logs it for real, donor-facing time is closer to 15 or 20%. The rest scatters across internal meetings that could have been an email, CRM, her donor database system, data entry that's 3 weeks behind, scheduling logistics that bounce between 4 people before a meeting gets locked in, and drafting the same kinds of emails and reports over and over with slightly different details each time. None of that work is meaningless. Internal alignment matters. Clean data matters. But none of it is the work that builds the relationship that leads to a gift. And here's the part that should bother all of us a little. The donor conversation, the part of the job that requires your full presence, your read on a room, your years of relationship building instinct, is usually the smallest slice of the week, not the biggest. Let me give you Renee's actual numbers because seeing them helped her more than any pep talk could have. Out of a 45-hour week, she was spending under 6 hours with donors. Roughly 10 hours went to internal meetings. Another 8 went to CRM updates and data entry. Scheduling logistics, the emails and calls just to lock in a meeting time, ate close to 5 hours. The rest went to drafting, reports, proposals, follow-up notes, briefing documents for her boss before donor visits. When she saw that breakdown, her first reaction wasn't guilt. It was clarity. She wasn't bad at her job. Her week was structured in a way that buried the most important part of it under everything else. Here's your assignment if you want one going into this episode. Before you change anything, just measure it. Log your hours for 1 week, even roughly, in 3 buckets: donor-facing time, internal and administrative time, and drafting and reporting time. You can't fix a problem you haven't looked at, and most of us are operating on a guess about where our time goes rather than a real number. One more thing about the audit while we're here. This isn't a one-time event. The fundraisers who get the most out of it rerun the audit every quarter because the shape of a week shifts as a portfolio changes, a campaign ramps up, or a new system gets added to the mix. Treat it like a checkup, not a one-time diagnosis. I'll also say this. The point of the audit isn't to shame yourself for how little donor time you're logging. It's diagnostic. It tells you exactly where to aim the tools we're about to talk about, instead of automating the first task that annoys you that day. Once you can see where your time goes, the next question is, what's truly safe to hand to artificial intelligence and automation? I think about this in 3 buckets, and I want to walk through each one with real examples. The first bucket is admin. This is scheduling, data entry, calendar logistics, the purely mechanical work that doesn't require your judgment, just your follow-through. Scheduling tools that let donors pick a time directly from your calendar can cut out 3 or 4 rounds of email entirely. Automated reminders can confirm a meeting the day before without you lifting a finger. Some CRMs now offer automated data entry from email or call transcripts, so you're not manually typing in every interaction after the fact. None of this touches the relationship. It just removes friction from the logistics around it. The second bucket is drafting. This is where artificial intelligence tools have gotten genuinely useful in the last couple of years. Call summaries, follow-up emails, first drafts of briefing notes before a visit, even a rough outline for a proposal. The key word here is drafting, not deciding. A tool can take your messy meeting notes or a voice memo and turn them into a clean first draft of a follow-up email in under a minute. You still read it, you still edit it, you still add the personal detail that only you would know, like the fact that a donor's grandson just started college or that she mentioned wanting to visit in the fall. The tool gets you from a blank page to something workable. You're the one who makes it sound like you and means it. The third bucket is analysis. This is the newest and, in my experience, the most underused category. Artificial intelligence tools can scan your notes across a portfolio and surface patterns you might miss on your own. Donors who haven't been contacted in a while, language in your notes that suggests a shift in someone's capacity or interest, or themes across your top donors that point to a segment worth a closer look. This isn't about replacing your relationship intuition. It's about giving that intuition more to work with. A good analysis tool tells you where to look. You're still the one who decides what it means and what to do about it. Here's the test I give clients for whether a task belongs in one of these 3 buckets versus staying entirely in your hands. Ask yourself, does this task require me to read a room, make a judgment call about a person, or build trust in the moment? If yes, that's yours. If the task is mechanical, repetitive, or about organizing information you already have, it's a strong candidate for artificial intelligence or automation. I want to add one caution here because I see fundraisers overcorrect in both directions. Some won't touch automation at all because it feels impersonal, and they stay buried under admin that's stealing their donor time. Others get excited and start automating donor-facing communication itself, like personalized stewardship messages or thank you notes. And that's where it starts to feel hollow to the person receiving it. The categories that are safe are the categories behind the scenes. The moment a tool starts speaking directly to a donor in your voice without your eyes on it first, you've crossed from support into risk. One more note on this before we move to specific workflows. You don't need the most expensive tool on the market to do any of this well. A basic scheduling link, a transcription app you already have on your phone, and a general purpose artificial intelligence assistant can cover all three buckets for most small and mid-sized teams. Don't let the search for the perfect platform become its own new way to avoid the work. Start with what you already have access to this week. Let's get specific, because frameworks are only useful once you can visualize them in your own week. The first workflow is the one that helped Renee the most, and I mentioned it earlier: call and visit summaries. Right after a donor visit, while you're still in the car or walking back to your desk, record a 2-minute voice memo. Just talk through what happened, who you met with, what they shared, what they seemed excited about, what felt different from the last conversation, and anything you committed to following up on. Run that voice memo through an artificial intelligence tool that can transcribe and summarize it. You'll get a draft contact report, and if you ask for it, a draft follow-up email in the same pass. Read both. Fix anything that's off. Add the one detail that makes it personal. Then send and log. That whole workflow takes most fundraisers about 10 minutes once they've practiced it a few times, compared to the 30 or 40 minutes it used to take to write a contact report from memory hours later, when half the detail has already faded. Renee's version of this workflow is what took her from 4 hours a week on call summaries and follow-up to under 1. The second workflow is a weekly portfolio scan. Once a week, usually a Friday afternoon when energy for cold outreach is low anyway, export or review your notes across your top 20 to 30 donors. Ask a secure artificial intelligence tool to flag anything that stands out: donors who haven't been touched in 60 days, language patterns suggesting increased capacity, or life changes like a retirement or a sale of a business, or donors whose engagement seems to be cooling. You're not asking the tool to tell you what to do. You're asking it to hand you a shorter list of people worth a second look, so your relationship instincts go towards the donors who need them most, instead of getting spread evenly and thinly across everyone. One word of caution: take care not to share or upload personally identifiable information. Depending on which artificial intelligence tool you use, you can opt out of model training, sanitize uploaded documents by stripping out personal information, or switch to an enterprise tier that guarantees that your conversation and uploaded files are never scanned, retained, or used for machine learning. One of my clients started doing this scan every Friday and found, in her second week, that a donor who'd been quiet for 3 months had mentioned in her notes that she was retiring soon. She had typed that detail in passing and never circled back to it. The scan surfaced it. She reached out, learned the donor had just received a significant liquidity event from selling part of a family business, and that conversation eventually led to the largest gift of that donor's lifetime. The tool didn't close that gift. It made sure a detail that was already sitting in her own notes didn't get lost in the noise. Here's how to start without overhauling anything. Pick one of these two workflows, not both. Try it for 2 weeks. Keep a rough count of the time it saves you and what you do with that time. If it's working, refine it. If it's not, adjust the prompt or the tool. Don't abandon automation altogether after one rough attempt. Most workflows take 2 or 3 tries before they fit your actual style. Let's bring this together. Most major gift officers are spending far less time with donors than they think, and far more time on admin, internal meetings, and repetitive drafting than they realize until they measure it. Artificial intelligence and automation are genuinely useful for 3 categories of that work: admin, drafting, and analysis. They're not useful and frankly not appropriate for the actual donor relationship itself. The listening, the judgment, the trust building that only you can do. 3 key takeaways to walk away with. 1. Measure before you automate. A real-time audit tells you exactly where to aim your effort instead of guessing. 2. Admin, drafting, and analysis are safe categories for artificial intelligence and automation. The donor conversation itself never is. 3. Start with one workflow, not a system overhaul. Call summaries or a weekly portfolio scan are both small enough to test in 2 weeks and substantial enough to notice the difference. Your challenge this week, and I mean this as a real commitment, not a someday idea. Pick one workflow, either the call summary routine or the portfolio scan, and pilot it for the next 2 weeks. Track roughly how much time it gives back. At the end of those 2 weeks, ask yourself what you did with those reclaimed hours. If the answer is more donor visits, more thank you calls, more time spent building relationships, you'll know this was worth doing. Artificial intelligence and automation aren't a threat to this profession. They're a way to build capacity for the part of the work that brought most of us into fundraising in the first place, the relationships. Used well, with clear guardrails around what stays human, they give you back the hours your donors have been waiting for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do. The world needs fundraisers who protect their time and energy fiercely enough to spend it where it matters most. Keep transforming your fundraising so you can transform the world.
The Intentional Fundraiser podcast is a Fundraising Transformed original. I'm Trent Thompson, executive producer, CMO, and head of community at Fundraising Transformed and the Modern Institute for Charitable Giving. The Intentional Fundraiser podcast has been recognized by FeedSpot as one of the top 80 fundraising podcasts on the web. This recognition means so much to us, and it wouldn't be possible without your incredible support, encouragement, and thoughtful engagement. Every listen, share, and conversation has helped us grow and reach more passionate fundraisers like you. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to review and rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen. For resources mentioned in this episode and to subscribe to our Scaling Major Gifts newsletter, visit fundraisingtransformed.com.